And we continue with Ole Liffman's SWOT analysis. In 1957, now here we go. And we continue with Ole Liffman's SWOT analysis of the land value tax implementation in Denmark. He goes, after World War II, in 1948, the Danish Minister of Finance appointed a commission whose members should scrutinize the possibilities and consequences of the introduction of full ground duty, land value taxation, levied on the full-on market prices of all land in Denmark. That commission published its report in 1954, in which the majority recommended a tax of 4% on publicly assessed market prices of all land in Denmark. In 1957, the three political parties, the biggest, the Social Democrats, and the two smaller, the Radical Liberals and the Danish Justice Coalition Party, got enough votes to construct the so-called ground duty government. Isn't that interesting? Called so because at its inauguration, it declared that it would collect as much rent of land as would be politically possible. This declaration and the facts that many politicians and civic servants were convinced of the virtues and advantages of land value taxation, that pilot projects and tests had been carried out through after 1915, that 45 years negotiations had taken place about how to phase out old taxes, about the preferable proportion between tax on land values and tax on improvements, including buildings, and about the preferable relations between various levels of governments, that a ministerial subcommittee appointed in 1948 had scrutinized possibilities and consequences of a general and full governmental collection of annual rent of all land in Denmark and recommended LVT to the state in its report in 1954, convinced building entrepreneurs and other developers that high land value taxations would now become the reality, which made it interesting for them to shift their passive investments in land onto productive investments. Zakuduse revisits Danish miracles. What a story! Denmark should be proud of herself. That moment in history can be revisited. The process can be induced. Sections of society can be harnessed. Dynamics can be tapped into, and calculations can sum up the benefits. I would be very proud to take this Danish story to the rest of the world, as it is the basis for real socio-economic justice. The type of justice that will decrease migration, and the type of story that will soundly counter the present prevailing narrative in parliaments across Europe. The legend has it that Dannebrog fell from the sky. A similar, extraordinary legend is possible based on what was worked on after World War II and culminated in the government of 1957 to 1961. During 7 days in July, we hope to begin a movement similar to the one that brought land value taxation in Denmark to the fore and spread the movement across Africa. This is the core objective of my walk, of my 18,000 kilometer walk from Cape Town to Cairo for water rights. In anticipation of this, I have developed important financial structures such as 12 by 12, which can widen any African country's tax base while providing coherence and cohesion as employment is increased. In preparation of this mission, I left my life as a recipient of Danish welfare. In the year 2000, to become a street musician in London and Barcelona, before going to spend 6 years in Africa studying the dynamics of poverty and how to counter them. UNESCO Reggae. Your Majesty, for years I have watched your New Year's speech and enjoyed the words of wisdom and compassion. Similarly, for years I have listened to reggae music and enjoyed the noble messages. If the words spoken by Your Majesty and the lyrics expressed by generations of reggae singers are to translate into reality, then what we need are the very technicalities that actually have worked before in Denmark. Why not repeat these Danish miracles? Why not spread them to the rest of the world? If even just one political party in Denmark was to take CCSR seriously, then Your Majesty's apology for slavery will be followed up by real action and change. An entire interdisciplinary industry reflecting entire worlds of design and creativity will blossom right here in Copenhagen, spawning what we may very well end up christening conscious entrepreneurship. At the center of conscious entrepreneurship would be reggae music, or UNESCO reggae to be precise. My many years of songwriting have provided a sizable catalog to kickstart this industry. 40 songs have been made available to the creative forces of Jamaica as a first step in establishing the culture of CIPR, Collective Intellectual Property Rights, whereby a percentage of all global reggae-related transactions goes to guaranteeing sizable revenue to each and every Jamaican as a compensation for collectively creating reggae music. The Sakuduse Planet Festival is the first example of that idea. However, it is but a microcosm of the much larger framework called the $10 billion plan. At each Sakuduse event, plans will be discussed on how to attain the objectives of the $10 billion plan. All the Sakuduse Planet Festivals shall form a continuum to evolve the implementation of the $10 billion plan, which will be funded by Africans. All that shall be asked of the West is the acknowledgement of the plan's legitimacy and viability. The $10 billion plan shall be presented to the Prime Minister of Britain as a solution to the conditions that brought about Brexit, to Chancellor Angela Merkel of Germany as a solution to African migration to Europe, to the Prime Minister of Jamaica with recommendations on how to benefit from reggae's music status as a UNESCO intangible cultural heritage of humanity, and to the President of Malawi on how to provide 100% employment. With a model like this, and I forget to say, and to my cousin, His Majesty, the King of Swaziland, on how to turn his ownership of 60% of the country's land into an asset for all Swazi people. With a model like this, Denmark will give the world a clear course to peace, progress, stability, and prosperity. Your Majesty, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your government. I thank you for this country. I thank you for being here in Denmark. And I thank the Most High for all good things that are about to unfold. One love, Jah Rastafari.